All righty, welcome everybody. As we get started here, welcome to enhancing stakeholder understanding of complex what-if analysis. I'll give everyone time to get logged in. I see we do have some folks trickling in already. Great presentation so far this morning. If you were able to see them from Tim, Dr. Guy, Dr. Vivek. I'll go ahead with our introduction as we see the participant list. We're still ticking up there. Well, today we have sort of a hybrid session where we're going to be talking about software development here and what we're working on at PMA, but also hear from one of our customers and about how they're using our software in their projects. So really great dynamic session. It's going to give you a look at both inside development as well as case study. Really excited to share this with you today. And the main theme is on what-if analysis, which you're gonna see and learn a lot about here. My name is Seve Ponce de Leon. I lead the product management for our software and innovation team here at PMA. I'm joined by my colleague, Alex Neary. Alex has over 10 years of experience in project management, project controls, process improvements, scheduling, and is really bringing a great lens here to our software development. We also have Gerald Rosario from Stantec with us. Gerald has over 25 years of experience in program and construction management. He's worked all over the globe, internationally, from Pakistan, Ethiopia, on the Panama Canal, doing very complex work, claims, disputes, contractual correspondence. We're very excited to have Gerald here with us today and to provide all of you out there in the audience with the case study and the look at how he's using it out in the field with his clients. A little bit about Stantec. Gerald will be elaborating later on in the presentation. They're recent adopters, well, almost 8 years now, but have really become a key collaborator with us on the software development. We've also worked together on project management on different projects across the country. PMA, of course, is a project management firm. We don't do design engineering, but we also are the ones, as you know, who develop and sell NetPoint under the name PMA Technologies, hence the name of the conference, NetPoint and GPM Conference. So we got a question during the first session today about market adoption. So I hope whoever asked that is still out there in the audience. You'll see NetPoint over the years, about 15 years that it's been on the market, has built quite a large and loyal following of companies over the years. The largest slice really coming from the AEC or EPC firms. You can see quite a few examples from this segment over on the right-hand side. We also have quite a few consulting firms, project management, project controls, owner rep, claims scheduling, who are also using NetPoint. And last but not least, owners. This is really the second largest slice of our customer base. So, we have seen quite good adoption across all these segments over the 15 years or so that we've been on the market. But as Tim said, we're really not competing against a tool like P6. Each tool is really providing value for different use cases. Last but not least, there's a look at some of the industries, especially oil, gas, energy, pharma. Some of our customers, our largest customers, are coming from those areas. So before we move on, we wanted to launch a poll and see what type of company are you guys working for. Is it on the AEC, EPC side? Are you in the sort of the construction management or project management? Are you on the owner side? Let us know. We'll give you a few seconds and we'll share the results so everyone can kind of see what our audience is like today as we get going here. So I'll give you a few more seconds to vote, and I'll just introduce the agenda. Today we're going to start off with a brief overview of what we call Project Summit. This is a code name. It's a software solution that has been under development here for a few years now in PMA. If you've been on the conference in the last few years, you would have gotten an introduction and seen it as well. Alex will also discuss a few scheduling use cases with special emphasis on what-if analysis, the focus and the theme of the presentation. We'll then hear from Gerald about how they are using NetPoint, Project Summit at Stantec for, among other things, complex what-if analysis. We'll see some live demos of software, the latest releases of these software. So live demos are always fun. We'll see a roadmap of what's coming up in the software, followed by Q&A. We'll have some more polls and audience interaction. So a really great session today. We can go ahead and end the poll. I'll have my marketing support here. Go ahead and end it and share it. You guys should be able to see. Okay, so quite a few really the majority of folks in the PM consulting segment, followed by almost a tie between people from the owner side or out there from the AEC or EPC firms. So interesting, very interesting to know. And I hope you guys enjoy the presentation. With that, I'll turn it over to Alex Neary, and you can take it over from here, Alex.
Okay, thank you, Seve. So let's dive into Project Summit and how it can help you get better outcomes for your large construction projects. As Seve mentioned, Project Summit is PMA's next generation scheduling software, and it's designed to solve many of the challenges that are faced when communicating large amounts of scheduling information. One of those challenges is creating what-if scenarios on complex construction projects. Project Summit empowers both schedulers and stakeholders to foresee potential project paths and optimize the outcomes for their projects. So let's see how Project Summit can help make you a better project plan. What's important to understand is that schedules are more than just project data. As Tim mentioned in his presentation on NetPoint, we're often asking the question, what story are we trying to tell here? What are we trying to communicate with this information? And we can break that down into 4 different broad categories. One is where the project was. Schedules communicate actual progress. You can learn lessons from past progress on a project. The next is where a project is. Schedules outline the current project tasks, remaining activities, and help a stakeholder understand where the project status is today so that you can forecast project completion. From there, it's important to understand where a project can go. To illustrate potential outcomes, you have many different decisions and events that happen during a project, different decision points and decisions, trade-offs that you can make. A scheduler and a project controls professional offering the range of potential paths to their stakeholders is important when you're developing these new plans. To be able to do that simply and in real time is a tremendous advantage. And all this eventually needs to be condensed down into a new project plan. So taking this broad range of what-if scenarios, distilling them down into the best one, and then merging them back into your schedules of record so that you can have project success. So let's talk about this first section, the past, forensic critical paths. What ifs are about planning for the future. So some of the more advanced project controls professionals on the call might be wondering why I'm about to talk about Summit's ability to create easy to understand forensic critical paths. And the answer to that question is to understand where a project can go. It is important to understand its past. And Summit can help you understand a project's past in new ways. With CPM forensic scheduling, once activities are actualized in a CPM network, total float to the left of the data date is lost. Dr. Guy noted in his presentation that the as-built critical path has been missing from scheduling software for many years, almost to the point where most project professionals who don't have training in forensic analysis don't even think about it. Move the data date, you hit F9, and the forensic critical path disappears from many schedulers' minds. This makes getting lessons learned from the past difficult to obtain and real-time strategic use of past project status unfeasible. Forensic critical paths in CPM are time-consuming and require specialized skills. Windows analysis, time impact analysis, all of this takes time. And that makes the ability to get real-time strategic insights out of your schedule nearly unfeasible. Lessons learned, ability to address those time impact events, that becomes really challenging if you're not able to get quick insights out of your past project data. With the GPM algorithm, all this changes. You're able to calculate floats to the left of the data date. You're able to see your forensic critical path very easily. And the as-built critical path exists for actualized activities. We see this with people who have experience with our NetPoint software. NetPoint has many strengths. It has higher ability to have that higher level planning. You can import small schedules directly into it and see your forensic critical paths. And if you're having a large schedule, you can manually summarize your activities to create those forensic critical paths. But when it comes to large schedules, that manual summarization requires significant effort, it requires skill, it requires time, and can lead to data loss, which can skew informed decision-making. What Summit's advantage is in this respect is that it gives you the benefits of that GPM algorithm, that ability to see forensic critical paths and past progress. You can efficiently import large projects, so more than 1,000 activities into Project Summit and instantaneously see these insights. You have the schedule detail that you need to support your analysis without that time-consuming manual synthesis, which can be so error-prone. And even when a great job is done with it, that summarization has to have trade-offs. How much detail do you provide in order to give the insight? With Summit, you're able to do that nearly instantaneously. And comparing baselines together is a quick and efficient ability in Project Summit. Next is our current status. So good communication is key in project management. Project owners expect that their schedulers can transform scheduling data into understandable insights. Project Summit revolutionizes how complex schedules are communicated to stakeholders. It ensures that information is both accessible and comprehensive, which reduces the risk of miscommunication, enhances engagement, and is crucial for project success. When we have complex schedules, we often have these trade-offs between how much data we provide to our stakeholders versus how much detail. I think many schedulers have heard phrases that amount of detail is too in the weeds. If you've heard that P6, displaying direct information from P6 makes your stakeholders' heads explode. I know I heard that when I was project controls professional full-time. Non-scheduler stakeholders require distilled schedule information. Here's an example of that using Excel, a common tool for providing summaries. This distilling of detail, even when done well, requires manual effort, much adjustment, and detail can be lost. So if you see here in an Excel, you can see the high-level summary, but the links between these big bars is missing. So if you're a stakeholder, you might believe that you can move some of these bars to crash your project or advance the critical path when that's not possible. And this leads to outcomes which aren't optimal. You need that detail in order to be able to tell your stakeholders an accurate story. Project Summit is able to tell this story. Project Summit's narratives are concise, they're easy to follow, They allow you to have those summaries, but underneath them, it's supported by all the detail that if a scheduler wants to drill down or a stakeholder has a question, you can quickly show all the supporting evidence behind your project analysis. You can create multiple narratives using the same data, and you can show clear critical path analysis at even the highest level. And then when you need to, go down as deep as you need to go with your stakeholders to give real-time decision-making. So the main theme is, what do we do for the future, right? What if scenarios are planning for the future? And handling what if scenarios efficiently is at the heart of proactive project management. Project Summit rises above other scheduling software by allowing schedulers to create, compare, and discuss multiple project scenarios in real time. It fosters a collaborative environment where project paths can be optimized based on these collective insights. What if scenarios require that efficient communication? Many times a scheduler, at least in my experience, you'll go into a meeting, you'll get lots of different information, you'll bring it back to your desk, you'll import it into P6, you'll wait a couple days or a week, go to another meeting, provide that insight. All of this takes time, and it leads to insights which aren't able to be used in the moment. The details are important for accuracy, and Project Summit is able to give you that accuracy very quickly. Gerald, I'll ask you here. Have you had times in your practice when it was challenging to balance between how much to summarize a set of activities and the details that you show to stakeholders?
It's always a challenge. You know, you're dealing with challenges to accuracy, and whether or not you've captured all the necessary details.
Yeah, and I know many on the call have probably experienced this as well. Mainstream scheduling applications aren't set up to create these what-if scenarios in an efficient way, and Project Summit is. The limited visualization capabilities of these other software makes it difficult, and Project Summit, one of the main use cases is allowing this efficient communication. Project Summit allows real-time what-ifs. It's streamlined process of creating and comparing at multiple scenarios. You can do many scenarios together and see the different plans. It's visual. Stakeholders don't want to see tables and a lot of data. They want to see a understanding of the insights of that project data, and Project Summit gives that to them. You can see your planned dates. You can quickly adapt and collaboratively respond in real time. So the GPM algorithm allows you to move an activity, impact a critical path without having to wait the 2-3 minutes for an F9 on a large schedule to run. And that real-time logic builds stakeholder confidence. It allows you as a scheduler and a project controls professional to be transparent and thorough and build confidence in your ability to communicate all this data to your stakeholders. And finally, what do you do with all this, right? You have these multiple what if scenarios. They're in Project Summit. Your schedule of record contractually for perhaps is in P6. How do you get this out? Well, that's where you merge and export your current plan. So just as a heads up, the exporting ability will be in an upcoming release in the next few weeks. We'll be able to merge, currently you're able to merge all these scenarios into one optimal plan. You're able to report those different aspects out of the different scenarios that you've created. You can compare that to your original P6 schedule, and once it's all condensed, you can export it right out to P6, integrate it within your P6 schedule, and move on with an optimal plan in your schedule of record. So just a little bit high level about Project Summit that we haven't covered. The whole idea is a smart automation of routine tasks. Our design team works very hard on creating a user-friendly interface. We have interviews and we spend time trying to make sure that not only for schedulers, but for stakeholders, that Summit's easy to understand. We highlight integration with other tools. NetPoint and P6 are seamless. Microsoft Project will be upcoming in a future release. And all this allows you to get instant insights at a glance. Times to think about using Project Summit are when you need to have that high-level schedule analysis. When you have a schedule that's complex and maybe new that you need to communicate to a client. Clients who want proof of schedule detail, or if you as an owner, you want proof of that schedule detail, Project Summit allows you to have that. You can create that high-level summary, and if someone asks, well, you know, can we drill down on this? Can we see all the logic that's underneath the summary? Project Summit can allow you to do that very easily. And for those owners who want to interact with schedule detail, we can provide copies of Project Summit. They allow you to interact with XCR files so you can visually see your project, get detailed analysis that you might not otherwise have, and have a more fruitful conversation with your scheduling team. The results of this are improved communication between all project team members, enhancing productivity, so things that might have taken weeks now take minutes, and ultimately, it gives a competitive edge in your scheduling, whether you are a professional scheduler, whether you hire schedulers on your project that you own. This all leads to better outcomes for your project and is something that is extremely valuable for your workflows. So let's, with this, take a look at how Project Summit is being used at Stantec, demonstrating enhanced productivity, improved communication, and a competitive edge there in project scheduling. These are some real-world results, and they underscore the impact that Project Summit has on day-to-day operations and ultimately long-term project success.
Okay, thank you, Alex. I'm going to steal the screen. All right, good morning, everyone, and thank you for joining the session. I want to extend a special thanks to PMA for inviting me to present at this conference. At Stantec, we recognize we are better together. The Stantec community unites more than 30,000 employees working in over 400 locations across 6 continents. Our local strength, knowledge, and relationships, coupled with world-class expertise, allow us to go anywhere and meet our clients' needs in more creative, personalized ways. The success of our clients, communities, and people worldwide is our greatest ambition. To find out more, visit stantec.com. So next slide has our corporate stats. And the next slide has our ENR rankings for Stantec. All right, let's move on. Now, we have all seen visuals like this. This is a typical executive level critical path summary. It's a standard Gantt chart designed to visually convey a sequence of activities and inferred logic. This is a standard construction estimator's proposal level schedule developed in Primavera P6. You can see that there are no relationship lines, and WBS sections with no critical activities are displayed with gaps or white space. Depending on the critical path settings in P6, overlapping or critical activities or summaries on the longest path are shown, as you can see here. Let's see if I can turn this. Okay. Slide. All right, this is a Same schedule, WBS view. Blue hammocks represent start and finish summaries for the respective WBS. Criticality is not conveyed in the WBS view. This is a project summary collapsed to WBS level 0. You can see in this format that the critical path is indicated with links, while other summarized paths are shown. This type of summarization takes only a few seconds and is suitable for an executive level summary. Project Summit provides a clear summary visual of the entire schedule. This is the same schedule expanded to a level 1 summary. Again, generating this view takes only a few seconds. The important thing to note is that the native logic and calendars are maintained with this drill down capability. I will be doing a live software demonstration of this function later in this presentation. So a little bit more about Stantec, or actually my position. I am currently broadcasting from the East Coast in Kittery, Maine, and I serve as the Deputy Resident Engineer for the $1.8 billion P381 multi-mission Dry Dock number 1 project at the Portsmouth Naval Shipyard. In this aerial photo, you can appreciate the congestion of equipment, floating drill rig platforms, barges, and flexi floats within the basin. Right here. This next slide is a rendering of the finished product, final configuration of the project, and this design implements the offsite construction of 27 precast concrete monoliths that form the center wall and base slabs for each dry dock. The center wall modules, shown here, weigh approximately 4,000 tons each. This construction method was adopted to take major reinforced concrete elements off the critical path. Our client is NAVFAC, Naval Facilities Engineering Systems Command, and its subsidiary organizations, namely the OICC, Officer in Charge of Construction, Program Executive Office, PEO, and the Program Management Office, which manages the SIOP program. The contractor on the project is a joint venture of Kiewit TIC, Chinbro, and Middlesex Corp. This is truly a partnership of world-class organizations, and our goals are driven by schedule. This next slide shows the precast modular facility in Brewer, Maine. Casting beds, tracks, resting walls, and tower crane facilities are shown. This next slide here shows one of the precast modules being loaded onto a barge this past Tuesday, and it has arrived at the Portsmouth Naval Shipyard this morning. So one of our monthly tasks is analysis of the contractor's schedule. We currently use NetPoint to summarize our analysis of complex multi-calendar Primavera P6 schedules. Currently, 120 to 200 NetPoint summary activity objects are tracking the critical path progress of 13,000 activities every month for the past 28 updates. This can take a considerable amount of time to click trace driving paths through a CPM network as logic is adjusted or activities are added or removed. It is an iterative process to adjust the advanced options in Primavera P6 to perform multiple flow path analyses and reschedule each time. The result of the NetPoint exercise is a GPM visual suitable for collaboration, reporting, and what-if scenario modeling by inserting fragnets or updating durations. As-built data left of the data date is maintained. Baseline comparisons can be selected, and variances from selected baselines can be displayed and calculated automatically. Now, for those familiar with NetPoint, there is a feature for highlight driving link chains through the GPM network. For our purposes, we flatten the calendar and report durations in calendar days. We can tell when summary objects have joined a critical path. We can tell when the logic was broken, and we can identify the start or finish of a work front that is writing the data date. Now, we utilize NetPoint as one tool to facilitate and communicate our analysis of time impact and delays. Details matter, and as analysts, we have to recognize that we are often presented with incomplete or non-conforming data. Drilling down to the individual activity level and summarizing accurately at higher levels is where Project Summit's features can be utilized to convey a single source truth. Okay. I can scroll here. This is an example of what we update every month for the Navy. So let's go right into the live demo. All right.
So while Gerald's getting his demo up, and Alex is going to follow right on the heels with one as well. Just reiterate, they are using internal recent releases, so we don't expect anything to come up or occur, but as always on these live demos on the conferences, sometimes the unexpected occurs. So, well, excited to see what you got, Gerald. That was a really, really great set of slides.
Get this going. How do I do this? Give me 1 second here. All right. You're not seeing the screen, right?
We see it. It's a little small.
It's a little small.
I do see the Project Summit window.
Let me move this. Give me 1 second here. Share the screen.
Yeah, no problem.
There we go. Okay, I've got Project Summit Alpha version 0.702.
Not seeing it yet, Gerald. Just to interrupt you there, but I do not see it yet. Okay, that looks like it's coming in. Okay, I see it now. Okay, I see. Okay, I see. I'm go ahead and maximize the screen. Okay, I'm seeing just your black desktop right now.
You're seeing the black desktop, okay?
Yep. I see Project Summit. There we go. All right.
There you go. Okay.
Take it away.
All right. Let me load this. Let me load this demo schedule here. I'm going to just open it up. Right, going to do a little cleanup here, stretch to fit. And then I'm going to turn on some of my relationships tables. Okay, and one of the best practices to start out with is you go to this current scenario actions, new, right? And you're going to create a baseline. I always do this. Always create a baseline first. Save it. Okay. And then I'm going to search for, let's say, I've rehearsed this, but I'm going to look for my activities in the crusher zone. This is a typical dry dock rehabilitation project. All right. And you can see that the activity I've selected is currently not critical, right? So what we can do is we can stretch it out to make it critical. If I hover over this item, you can see that Project Summit gives me the activity ID stats. Right. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to stretch this out. I'm going to exaggerate it a little bit, right? So that it models a change in the schedule. And then what I'll do is I'll save it as a new scenario, but this time it's a what if target. I'm going to call this crusher. And I'm going to save it. And then what I'll do is I will compare it with the baseline. Now you can see where the crusher activity was before. You can see its impact as it ripples down through the network, okay, through the schedule. I can turn on the variance settings here so that I can see what's changed, right? And I can also collapse this back down to level 0. Give it a second. Right, and that's a quick and easy demonstration of a what if application. Now, one more thing that I'd like to point out before I hand it back over to Alex is at various levels, Project Summit has this feature here, highlight driving logic. And I find this to be an absolutely fantastic real-time interrogation tool. If I wanted to find out where the critical path was or the driving logic was going through a particular activity, I only need to touch it and highlight it, right? It becomes a little more apparent if I expand all. Right, and then let's scroll down through my network here. You can see that by turning on this driving logic link, it grays out the activities. See if it'll let me, but if I click on any one of these activities here, it highlights the network backwards and forwards from this path. I just think that's the coolest thing. So it's akin to running the advanced options in P6 and setting the activity to calculate the float path through. But this is happening in real time. So, Alex, over to you.
All right, thank you for that, Gerald.
While Alex is sharing up, Gerald, can you remind us how many activities were in that particular schedule you're working with?
In this particular schedule, the 400 plus.
Nice. Okay.
I would not have tried it with the 13,000. We'd be sitting here for a while.
Okay, so following on from Gerald's really excellent in the field use cases, let's wrap up the main portion of the presentation by filling in some of the details on the current version of Summit versus the version that was shown at last year's conference. We recently completed what we consider to be our MVP version of what if creation, and I'll highlight some of Summit's newest features that allow you to create these what ifs. So if we can see on my screen, we have our data date here and completed activities are outlined in blue. This is our summary schedule, and I'm just going to make some adjustments here to have it be easier to read. Once I create that timescale split right here, I'm able to take my past activities, so anything that was in 2023, condense it down to quarters. A lot of times stakeholders want to see a little bit of the past, but that detail isn't what's the main part of the discussion. What we really want to look at is our future forward activities. So I'm going to expand these to be a little bit larger here and in more detail. In this analysis, I'm in a meeting with my stakeholders, and rather than look at our project by WBS, I'd rather see it by area. So we have this project coded by area. These codes come from P6, and we'll switch over. What you can see here is the lowest level details, but as we discussed in the PowerPoint presentation, most of the time you want to see some distillation of this information, some kind of a summary. So what we'll do is, with a click of a button, summarize everything to level 1 of your areas. What we see here are all of our areas summarized. We can see a clear critical path and subcritical paths through this project. So I'm going to scroll down to an area that you can imagine we might be discussing during a meeting with stakeholders. We're looking at phase 3, and we want to discuss potential opportunities to accelerate this project. So we say that there are abilities to accelerate. And as we just saw, in a typical P6 layout, you might only see that top level. You wouldn't be able to quickly drill down into the details. But with Summit, with just a click of a button, we can look at what phase 3 is and what goes into this critical path. So here are the underlying activities, the ones which are critical, the ones which are non-critical, and we can start to look at where opportunities are. I'm going to expand this just a little bit to make it easier to see. This is our sequence of activities. Make this fit the canvas.
Yeah, I'll jump in, Alex. I mean, this is incredible because a lot of folks use NetPoint to do the summary, but then they don't have the ability to open up and see the detail like you just did here, which is incredible. I mean, when you just open up that summary and you see all the detail and you can work with it now, that's really a game changer.
Yeah, exactly, Seve. And this is about as good as you can get. You know, we saw that critical summary. You can imagine if you showed that at a meeting, a stakeholder might not understand the opportunities to be able to condense that at the high level. But when you show this, it's very clear what the critical path is, where the opportunities are, where we can make adjustments to make the schedule accelerated. So let's do some of those accelerations and make a comparison. So I'm going to create a new what if. I'm going to call this May 16th what if, and save it. So at last year's conference, we had the ability to create an activity only, and I'll start off by doing that. So we'll create an activity here, and we will call this staff setup. So after the owner moves in, we want our staff to be set. With our new hover linking ability, you're able to quickly make a link between these two objects. And with our new milestone ability, you're able to set milestones that can be tracked in your project. Move this here. And take this milestone and link it. And rename the milestone staff setup. Great. Now we see our milestone on the end date of this activity. So let's take that and start making some changes. So we see our critical path here, and after discussion with our stakeholders, we discussed that the HGF drywall partitions can be done in parallel with the blocking and backing and the interior partitions. So with just a couple clicks, we can change these finish to start links to start to starts. There's one. You notice that the criticality of this activity just changed. Here's number 2. Start to start. And this is pretty standard for P6. Everything that you've seen, at least logic wise, could have been done in a P6 application. But where Summit really shines is the real-time ability to make adjustments. So if you just made those changes in a large schedule, you might have had to hit F9. Now you have to wait until your schedule runs just for a couple small changes. With Summit, all that can happen instantaneously. So we can take our drywall partitions and soffits, move it all the way back, and our critical path moves off this sequence. Now we are looking at subcritical paths with these activities. Compare this to our current scenario. And as you can see here, this is what the current version is. So we're still working in a what if. Current version is critical, modified version is subcritical. So you can see the activities that switch from critical to subcritical, the difference in color here. Let's say that we like this in our meeting. You've seen this in real time. How long have I been spending on this? About 9 minutes. We've made all these changes. Imagine you're meeting with stakeholders. This happens in real time. And we can have the approval in your meeting in real time. So we have everybody in the room. We get sign off that this is the plan that we want. We take our scenario. Exit our comparison. And we merge it to current, that overwrites the current scenario. Now our project has been modified. Critical path has changed. And you can export this shortly with an upcoming feature to P6 and have all these changes ported to your schedule of record. Thank you for that. With that, I will turn this over to Seve to discuss our roadmap and wrap up our summit presentation for today.
Wow. Really, really exciting. Great demo. I hope you guys have, especially those of you who are NetPoint users, you've been able to see how we've taken that real-time interaction, the collaboration capability of NetPoint, and you're seeing Gerald, you're seeing Alex work on it directly on XCR file brought into Project Summit with hundreds of activities. That's the direction we're going in, as Alex mentioned. This collaborative what-if analysis is what we are very close to completing internally here in our releases. And it's going to allow you to do a lot of these different scenario modeling use cases. You've got a delay coming up, a risk, and you're looking to model the impact that it's going to have on your schedule. Anticipate the consequence of a decision that's going to be made, optimize resources, and anything you're looking to do, changing logic, resequencing, adding activities like you've seen there. So after that, we're looking at research and designing right now for maintaining a summary for different monthly progress updates, as well as what you can do unlocking capability in Project Summit for multiple projects. if you've got, multiple schedules in P6 for a portfolio or a program, and being able to bring those into Project Summit. So, but really, I'm curious again, we want to launch a poll. We want to, here we go. Get your input here. You should see it pop up open on the screen. Based on what you've seen today, and based on your work, what your role is in project controls, scheduling, what would you like to see tackled? What would be most valuable to you? Seeing what you've seen today to see come into Project Summit. You see down there claims delay analysis, right? We've got to pick up on Guy and Vivek's presentation from this morning. If that was eye-opening to you, anything you saw there, seeing the as-built critical path, identifying delays, collapsing the schedule, seeing that come into Project Summit. Maybe it's schedule quality. Maybe the resource analysis that's used in NetPoint. So I'll give you guys a few more seconds to vote. If Gerald, are you still there? Maybe I'll call on you impromptu here and ask you, put you on the spot. Which one of these are you itching for that we don't currently have in Project Summit? Does any of those jump out? No wrong answers.
Well, it's the claims and delay analysis is my forte. I'm very familiar with the FIDIC contract, and that's what I did when I was over in Pakistan for 5.5 years. So
yeah, it looks like we've got quite a few votes there. So we'll give a couple more seconds for the poll, and I'll just make an announcement. If you are interested in trying Project Summit, we do have a wait list. It's sort of a private evaluation right now outside of PMA. But if you are interested in staying in touch, getting updates, getting news, getting access to early releases, you can sign up. There is a link in the VFairs lounge. It's there. I know it's like down on the right-hand side. It's one of those spinning cubes. You click there, it'll take you to a page. You can eventually sign up. It'll also go out in an email after the conference, so don't worry about trying to find it as well if you can't. And you can sign up to stay in touch. So why don't we go ahead and end the poll, and we can share the results. Well, claims delay analysis. Maybe our audience was biased from the keynote, but that's the winner there. Gerald, you should be happy. So we can definitely take this into account for our upcoming roadmap, prioritization, and research. We did get quite a few votes for the multiple projects, the resource analysis, upfront planning, concurrent real-time collaboration as well, schedule quality. So quite a lot. Turnaround, I know it's sort of a niche use case there. It doesn't look like anyone out there in the audience is needing or doing that today, or looking for that in Project Summit at least. So at this point, we're almost done. We do have a few minutes rather for questions before we wrap up. I see we did get some coming in. Brian, if you want to read those off, we can handle.
Yeah, absolutely. So the first question is it correct that Project Summit NetPoint is mainly used for retrospective analysis?
Okay, so it is correct that Project Summit and NetPoint are used for retrospective, but that's one use case. I think that NetPoint is used a lot for upfront planning. It's used for interactive planning sessions. It's getting buy-in on a high-level schedule to move forward in the project, sort of the pre-construction phase. Also, resource analysis across multiple projects. It's used for a lot. It's really one of the benefits of NetPoint is that it's very flexible, and you can do a lot in it because at the end of the day, it's used for presentations. You can build a schedule, and it has the calculations in it. I would say that the claims, the retrospective analysis, it's definitely a capability. It's probably not the leading use case though, but it's definitely one of the possibilities.
Thanks. Okay, so next question: what specific features or updates in Project Summit's development are you most excited about, and how do they align with the product's future roadmap?
I'm going to turn that one back to Gerald. I guess I inadvertently asked him that already, but is there anything else, Gerald? The claims, maybe anything else that comes to mind you're looking for that wasn't in the poll?
Well, in the future development of Project Summit, you know, and I know we're in the alpha stage and eventually we're going to go to a beta stage to full release. There are a couple of features that I'd like to see for the scheduled nerds out there, right? It's the, and I pointed out earlier in my presentation that I'd love to, you know, I love that driving logic, that real-time driving logic, highlighting an activity to see how the path goes behind it and in front of it, right? It's just so cool that you can select something and see what is driving that particular activity. The other thing I'd like is just a little bit more tweaking on what is considered critical and near critical, right? So that we can change the colors, we can change that heat map for Project Summit when it does its summaries.
Yeah, good point. Yeah, that is in our roadmap, and as we continue to build it out, we'll be sure to give you copies of those features.
Okay, next question. How many activities does Project Summit support?
Yeah, that's a good question. In this stage right now, thousands. You can import definitely in seconds and have the schedule laid out with thousands, multi-thousand activity schedules. You can do what if analysis. It will start to. So it's definitely more than hundreds that if you're coming from that point, you may be used to, on the order of a couple hundred. We're not yet there we're talking 10, 20,000 activity schedules like you might be used to in other, database, driven desktop scheduling applications, but that's the direction where we're going.
Nice. And currently, last question, unless we get more. It seems like you're using Project Summit for what if analysis. What impact has it had on scheduling and the project team?
That one sounds like one for Gerald again. Gerald, I'm going to put you on the spot.
Well, I'll tell you this. So most of the time we end up modeling fragnets or modifying durations to existing activities just to see what the impact is on a particular milestone, right? If you make modifications or insert a fragnet where it doesn't have any impact, it's a nice verification that there's no effect of that change, right? So Project Summit just makes it easier.
Nice.
Okay, great response. Okay, looks like that wraps up questions unless we get any more. Yeah, go ahead if you want to talk about this, Sevi, and any final comments from the group before we promote the next session.
Yeah, last but not least, we want to give a huge thanks to the whole development team here at PMA. What you have seen in the live demos is really made possible thanks to all of them. I also want to thank early adopters out there in PMA, any of you outside of PMA that are testing the tools, providing us feedback, answering our surveys. Thank you to you. Thank you to all of you. Gerald, Alex, thank you guys for joining and making this a really great presentation. And also to all the attendees who were with us today. And to the whole conference planning team here, Brian, Larissa, Tim, Eric, there's a lot of you guys out there, Jillian, Nahid, great work here. And we're not done. We're not done. We have more. I hope you stay tuned here. We're going to let you get some lunch, take a break here. But while you're doing that, Alex, Vivek, and I will be in the vFairs exhibitor section. You can find your way over there, ask us any questions. We'll be on hand. Anything you want to talk about, support related, sales related, NetPoint, Project Summit, we'll be there on hand. And after that, we've got after lunch. I know you're not going to want to go back to work. You're going to want to watch Eduardo and Ray. They are going to show how they are using NetPoint and Project Summit on manufacturing and infrastructure projects. Really great case study. I mean, if you liked a little bit of what Gerald showed you, this will be a lot more of that. So thank you all.
Thank you.
All right, thanks everybody. See you at the next session after lunch.